Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today I'm going to show you how to improvise without getting lost. And if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, head on over to our website. You know the drill. Get the free resources kit because it covers so many of these videos, including this one, and it gives you some great practice structure to help you, because you really need to be sitting at the piano and working these concepts out yourself. You don't want to be too reliant on just watching videos. You can watch these concepts, check them out, but then eventually you have to take it to the piano, and that's why those lead sheets that we provide in the free resources kit are so important. And it also just gives you the opportunity to learn a bit more about what we do. We have daily piano tips that reach your inbox as well. Really useful stuff just to get you firing all cylinders with your piano journey. So how to improvise without getting lost. A lot of people get lost when they improvise, and that makes total sense, because what's happening when you improvise? You're making up music on the spot. You're creating music without a score, saying, I have to play this note at this given time at this given place. So I think the thing that terrifies people about improvisation is the idea of not having a script or a plan, going off-piste, so to speak. Having a blank page in front of you is a little bit intimidating, and that's totally understandable. But I've got some very good news for you today, and the good news is that most seasoned improvisers of piano are actually playing off some sort of script still. They are actually planning a few things that they're going to do, very, very key things that they're going to do in the piece of music they're playing, within the realms of the music they're playing, that fit in to the structure of the music. I would even go as far as saying most improvisation you hear is only 20% improvisation. It's 80% still playing a piece of music as if there were a score there. There's still a very set structure. And I think that's the biggest misconception about improvisation. You hear a bunch of jazz musicians at a jazz club somewhere, you're like, they're just making it all up. They're just jamming, and it's all just, they're just totally freestyling. A lot of the standards and the pieces of music they're playing, they're actually playing within guidelines and procedures and realms of musical theory that actually are very controlled and well thought out and planned. And actually, there's really only 20% improv going on, and there's 80% structure and form to what it is they're playing. There are some exceptions to that. There are some musicians that totally go out on a wing without an absolute plan at all, but that's actually much more rare than you might think it is. So let's learn how to go through these things without getting lost. And I'm going to use two pieces of music to exemplify this. I'm going to use a piece of music that you will know, Georgia on My Mind. It's a beautiful jazz standard, bluesy piece. And I'm going to use a piece of music by Keith Jarrett from his quartet albums, one of his late 70s quartet albums called Country. And, let's start with Country, actually, by Keith Jarrett. And I'm going to look at the first few chords of this piece. So I'll just play a little bit of the song. It goes like this. It doesn't have words, but it actually is a lot like a song, with Jan Garbarik's floating saxophone in this track. It really feels like a song, but this is the pattern and the form of the piece. That's the first part of the piece. And you have chords like A flat major, B flat major, C minor. It's actually very triad based. It's a bit like pop music in a way. It could be an Elton John song for all we know. It's got that sort of triadic feel to it, with a little bit of a gospel flavour, with that passing diminished chord, that F sharp diminished, E flat over G, A flat over B flat, E flat major. A gospel-y sort of pop music, jazz informed sort of hybrid of a chord progression. Really nice to play as well. So how would we apply improvisation to that? Well, there are two forms of improvisory methods we can use. And one form is a really nice, simple starting point. And that's where we just track each chord that we're playing. So I'm going to exemplify this with the first 3 chords of the song, so we can just get a feel for the chords and get a feel for the possibilities in our improvisation. So I'm going to reduce the chord in the left hand to a simple pattern, an octave and a fifth, just to give us a simple starting place. And I'm just going to loop around those first 3 chords: A flat major, B flat major, and then 2 bars of the C minor. I'm going to add a bit of extra bass, so I'm going to go down an octave. Now, just to start with, all I'm going to do in the right hand is just chord out the right hand. That just gives me a groove, something to start with. So on to this descriptive improvisation where I really track each chord and look at the possibilities within each chord. So this is a really foolproof system that you can apply to improvising on pretty much anything, but particularly these types of chord progressions. You can add this to pop music improvisation as well, the Billy Joels and the Elton John type stuff as well. It works really, really well. And it's a great way of improvising and just sticking to the chord progression without getting lost. And all you have to do is you look at each chord that you're on and what possibilities of improvisation do we have? Well, we firstly have the notes in the triad, but that might just get a bit boring. So just to add a bit more to it, we add the second note as well. And that's just 4 notes. This is a real quick win here, by the way, with improvisation. So sometimes these quick wins that are quite simple, not theoretically complex, that are the most effective in music, because this improvisation technique literally is Elton John's bread and butter for his whole career. And it always works. I mean, he's still writing songs at the age of 77, still doing the same thing. He just did an album with Brandi Carlile. And he's still using these techniques and they still produce great songs and all the fans are still very, very happy. And that sounds great. So, you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sometimes less is more. This is just a 4-note formula over a triad. I mean, the simplicity of that is amazing. And listen to all the combinations I can create with that. I can combine notes together. Slip notes together. You hear this a lot in pop music, country music as well. I can have them separate, create a phrase out of that. So then I might have this. I'm just going to stay on the A flat. I'm not even going to go any further. It's got everything you need. So then we apply that to each chord and we track each chord with that. We get this. Sounds particularly good on minor chords. So this 4-note improvisation, tracking each of the triads, just playing the 1, 3, 5 of the triad and adding the suspended second as an extra auxiliary note. Hey, it's perfect. It just works so well. And you can apply it to so many parts of the progression. But it's not the only thing that you can do. There's another form of improvisation where you can pick a universal scale that will fit over the entire chord progression. And in this piece, this Jarrett piece, Country, is it's in the key of E flat major. Even though it's pivoting a lot on the C minor, it actually resolves in the key of E flat major in the end. So what works in an E flat major key? Well, one thing that will work as a universal scale, it'll fit the whole piece, is the relative minor blues. So the C minor blues is a good thing to remember if you want to blues something up with some improvisation. If it's in a major key, go to the relative minor, which is like finding chord 6. So chord 6 from an E flat to C minor, or 2 notes down. You can find it that way. So you find the relative minor and you turn that into a minor blues scale. Fits the whole piece like a glove. And I'll just demonstrate that on the first 3 chords of the song. You'll hear it. Now I don't need to play the chords. I can just play that rolling bass. You can hear how well that works. I'm just simply improvising on the C minor blues scale. I'm going to play the rest of the progression. But whilst I'm playing the rest of the progression, I'm not changing the scale in the right hand. It's stationary. It fits the whole thing like a glove. So that works really well. And of course you can combine those 2 methods together. Tracking the chords. Bit of the blues. Tracking the chord again. Back to the blues. I found it quite useful to track the chords when there was more chord movement, just to sort of acknowledge that the music is changing and evolving, but you can experiment with it and you can mix up both approaches and it works really, really well. I'm going to do the same thing to Georgia on My Mind, and I'm just going to play the chords of the song in the left hand. Add the melody in the right hand. So how could I improvise on that without sort of getting lost in improv? Well, the universal scale that will fit that, again, it's in a major key, so I find the relative minor, D minor. And it'll fit the D minor blues will fit the whole progression like a glove. So let's try that approach. So how do I spice that up a little bit? We were just using the D minor blues scale there. But how do I even spice that up with even more blues? Well, I can really elevate This is a really cool trick, by the way. I can really elevate the bluesiness of a piece like that by adding another blues scale over the top of my D minor blues scale. And this would be the F minor blues scale. But we're in the key of F major, you say. Well, that's the magic of the blues, is this world where major and minor are in combination with each other. The classical music law bookmakers call this a false relation, major and minor being pushed together. Oh, that's not meant to happen. But in the blues, throw that rule out the window, doesn't matter anymore. You can have major and minor at the same time. Nothing wrong with that. But it does sound quite intense, I have to say. Gets a little bit too much, right? It's quite intense. So you can play a minor blues on top of a major key perfectly like that. But we'll start with the more gentle relative minor first, D minor blues. And then when we want to take it up a gear or two, we're going to then go to the minor blues, the symmetrical minor, the parallel minor, for that extra given intensity. Let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to go minor blues now. Back to the relative minor, which is more sympathetic with F major. So you could hear the combination of the two definitely gave me more palettes of emotions, musical emotions to play with. And then our other method here of improvising is tracking the chord. And we can acknowledge the notes in some of these chords. So if I'm playing an F major 7 in the left hand, I can play notes in the F major scale in the right hand. But I just want to keep it simple. I don't want it to be like I'm playing a scale on each chord. Like that. It's a little bit it's predictable and not so interesting. So you just grab a couple of notes from the chord, a couple of passing notes from the scale of that chord, and you can create nice combinations like this. And we were speaking before about the quick win, which is 1, 3, 5, and 2. In the blues, you can even have that flattened third in there. Works really well. Just keep it simple. Even on that C7, I'm sort of arpeggiating the chord, but adding gaps and passing notes in there. So it's good just to explore and to experiment with it. So I hope you found today's improvisation class handy. Improvisation is a really important part of learning the piano. It's one of the 4 pillars in our learning systems here at the London Contemporary School of Piano. 4 pillars for the 21st century piano student who wants to do a little bit of everything. What are those 4 pillars? Chords, chords, chords. That's the first one. Understanding harmony on the piano, because this instrument is a harmony machine. But how do we bring those chords to life? We need rhythm and groove. So that's the second pillar, rhythm and groove. How do we create and be more creative and free with those chords? That's improvisation, what we've looked at today. And then the final pillar, the arrangement and integration of all those parts. And that's when we start to get those diminishing returns. But even those first 2 pillars, chords, 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 and groove, will transform your playing. And that's why we have the Complete Musician program, which I know for many of you, this program will be a life changer, will transform your piano playing. So if you're interested in learning more about our complete musician program, you can head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, or you can just click on the link below to see the enrollment information about the course. It's not just a self-study course. There are videos and lifelong resources that you get lifelong access to, but you also get support from our team because you don't want to be doing this all by yourself. So yes, if you're interested in joining the Complete Musician program, I look forward to seeing you and working with you with that. In the meantime, you can practice those improvisations without getting flustered, without getting lost. And I'll see you on the next video.